And they could defend themselves. The only person that would ever be a prey in the prison system is somebody that come through there and, you know, they want to be somebody's. You got to want to be somebody's. You got to be already had that in you. But you know what I'm saying? If you come through there and you move correctly, you know what I'm saying? Even if you have a fight or two, once the know you a fight, they off your ass.
Prison Stories 101. We got him in the building, man. Pimpin, once again, got him back.
Hey, what's up, my brother?
How's it going? First and foremost, as we get started, if you don't mind, reintroduce yourself and let them know how much time you did.
Well, my name is Ken Ivy, aka Pimpin Ken. My first time I ever went to prison, had a felony for attempted murder in Chicago. It was at the Cook County Jail. Next time I had a felony for forgery. They sent me to Wales Reformatory School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
And overall, you did 10 years, man.
So let me break that down. So I did about 3 years in the boys' school. I did another 3 years in the state joint. Then I did 5 years in the feds joint, 5.5 years.
Man. All right, one thing I wanted to do, because as we're speaking and as we're having this conversation, just here in Dallas-Fort Worth, we had a trial that was kind of rocking the city for the past year. A young man by the name of Karmelo Anthony, 17 years old at the time, I believe it happened, or maybe he was 18. That happened last April, where he, in his mind, defended his life as far as self-defense and took another young man's life. The young man was Caucasian. Both students were in high school at the time, both looking to graduate. The trial just happened. It was a little less than a week of regarding the actual testimonies and witnesses and deliberation to where the jury, which was not an all-white jury, but it was no blacks on the jury, came back and found the young man guilty. And of course, the same jury did the sentencing phase and sentenced him. It was in between 5 years and life. They ended up sentencing him to 35 years. If you don't mind, before I even ask you the question, can you give me a take on just that scenario in itself, as far as that young man carrying a blade to attract meat and having to use that fatally to, of course, fend off an oppressor?
Well, they say you're guilty, but you have a reasonable doubt, right? So they must have found reasonable, for the charge and with the case. Now, that case is kind of peculiar because when you think about it, and you say that he used the knife in self-defense, that's one thing. But the duty of the prosecutor is to prove that it was intent, you know what I'm saying? So it was premeditated that he brought the knife. That's how they presented. Now, his defense team have to be able to strategically show that he didn't have any intent, that the intent only occurred when the guy decided to be the aggressor and he defended himself. Obviously, the defense attorney wasn't savvy enough to create reasonable doubt, and the jury ultimately found the young man guilty. But I don't know if you know this, but in America, if you black, you're automatically guilty. Sometimes the burden of proof is, that to prove that I'm not black, that I'm a white man, that I'm a Jewish, I'm a Italian, I'm white, you know what I'm saying? And the way the system is structured and the way the systemic racism is structured is that every time you look at the news, the depiction that you see of a black man is always negative, right? So we always guilty because there's a lot of guilty things that goes on in our community that's being plastered across the media. So when a young man, who's a track star or who has no intention or has no criminal record, is caught up in a situation or a scenario like that, he got to get the backlash from all of the other African Americans that's plastered on the news. And that's the perception that they have. You know, a lot of times people say, well, how important is the jury? The jury is as important as a congressman. If you think about a congressman, if you're a congressman from Iowa, you're a congressman from Illinois. The problems in Illinois are way more significant than the problems that's in Iowa. But guess what? The Iowa congressman votes against everything that's beneficial to Chicago because he don't have the same problems in Iowa that they have in Chicago. So Barack Obama made the statement, why don't you just have a national voting campaign for all of the congressmen and let the people vote them in, so there'd be a constituent for all the people. You know, there'd be liable for all the people. But the same thing with the criminal justice system. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, if we're gonna pick juries, if we're gonna pick people to make decisions on people, then we should make sure that we pick a collage of people that represent the person's interests, right? So if it's all white and some non-white, but Mexicans or whatever they were, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the chances of those people understanding, you know, the plight and understanding, you know, how African Americans are depicted in this country is slim to none. So the guy was guilty before he even stepped on the stand because they have a preconceived notion of what this person is all about. And the most dangerous man in America is a young black man because we the one that's doing a lot of killing, you know, we're doing a lot of drug dealing, you know, we're doing a lot of stuff, you know, and that's a small percentage, but they take that small percentage and they put it in a pot and they say that's all of us.
Yeah. Now, you yourself, of course, got in your first hint of trouble at the age of 14.
Right.
For those who don't know how this works, he was hit with, of course, this is a state charge, so he's not doing federal time, but they end up sentencing him to 35 years state. For those who don't know, how does that work? How much time will he have to do?
Well, different states got different laws. You know, some laws got 85%, some laws got 50%, some laws you get out with good time and good behavior. Now, in the case of this guy, you know, he coming in at 17, it's going to be how he matriculate in the prison system. If he go in there, he get with a clique and he start gang banging, he can potentially do 25, maybe 30 years. If he get in there and he become a model citizen and a model inmate and he start, you know, what we call jailing and programming, you know what I'm saying, he might get out in about 15 to 20 years. The parole might, you know, say, you know, but then, you know, he went to trial, so that's a good thing. The good thing about going to trial is that while he's in there as a young man, he's going to probably go into the law books. And he's going to find different cases that coincide with his cases that he'll be able to probably get back on the appeal. You know, so because of the self-defense clause and the self-defense disposition that you were talking about, there's potential that the Supreme Court might not see it in the same capacity as the jury seen it. Jury is just one tier. You know, you got the appellate court, you got the Supreme Court, you know, there's all levels to the court system. So, you know, he could potentially be coming home and not do no more than maybe 5 or 10 years if he can get back on the appeal.